Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm Adrian Starks, and I'm joined with my wife, Shandi, and we'd like to just welcome you to Talk to Me. This is our time to come together to just talk to those in our listening audience about a variety of things um, that we believe will be compelling, interesting, and informative. This is an interesting time for us right now because not very long ago, in fact, a week ago, about a week and a half, Shandi has gone through one of the most rigorous and challenging um, procedures operationally, surgically. And it's really amazing that she's able to join us. We didn't gather this last week as we said that we were planning to because things didn't permit. But here we sit.
I like the way you said that.
Yeah. So um,
And we won't be sitting here long tonight.
we cannot sit here long and survive it. So, Shandi, go ahead and share a greeting because you've been through a lag, if you will, of your ability to be able to do something like this.
Yes, hello everyone, and thank you all so much for those who knew and have been praying for me. Your encouragement has been off the chain, and I appreciate it so much. So it's been 12 days, I think.
It has.
Yeah, sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm like losing my breath, which isn't a part of my surgery, but I have a few restrictions on how I have to sit. And so I haven't sat in this chair until just now. So I'm a little winded. But yeah, 12 days ago, I had a total left hip replacement, and it has been a blessing. I know it's going to be a huge blessing and a major enhancement to my life, and I'm so excited about it.
Now, you're on how long of a course of recovery, according to the professionals?
Well, I have 6 weeks of restrictions. So one of my restrictions is I can't go beyond 90 degrees. And so for some reason, when I sit in this chair, it's hard for me to sit comfortably. So but yeah, I had a posterior. It's a lot of information. But anyway, there are certain things I cannot do for 6 weeks. Like I can't bend down, I can't pick anything up. Yay, Jennifer Davis. She said she had her hip replaced almost 2 years ago. And I know this is going to be the best thing I've ever done. And I just kind of hate that I've
It's
waited
not
so
quite the
long.
best thing you've ever done. It's one of
For
it's one
me,
of it's one of the best things that you've done, but it's not quite the best thing you've done.
yeah, I honestly have been living with this hip pain for 5 years. And I've been living with knee pain for eight. How old is Sydney? Lord, she's
She's 20.
20. So I first started having orthopedic issues 20 years ago when I was pregnant with Sydney and realized I had a malformation in both of my kneecaps. And so just because I didn't know, growing up back when I did, 50 something years ago, we didn't have all the different assessments and things like that. So I had a malformation in my kneecaps all my life, just didn't know it until about 20 years ago. And it just did a number. It's like my kneecaps are bone on bone. My knee is perfect, the back part of my knee, but my kneecaps are bone on bone. And because of the pain, I put too much pressure on my hip and I wore my left hip out. And it has been bothering me for 5 years. And I have been holding off for this. Like the first time I went to my orthopedic to see it, to take a look at it, I was like, I think something might be wrong with my hip. as soon as I did 5 years ago, it'd be November, it'd be 5 years. And the first thing my doctor said was, you need a hip replacement. I was like, whoa, 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 hold up. And I have bad knees, not a bad hip, blah, blah, blah. So they were, the first practice I went to was very, very surgery happy. They weren't the most conservative. They said the only thing I could do was get a replacement. But then I found my current surgeon or his practice, and I've had my current doctor for about 2 years, 2.5 years. And we've done a lot of different things, a lot of alternative things, knowing that I would eventually come to this point, but we were trying to get to my 55th birthday before I had it. But a few months ago, I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago, I just said, Adrian, I'm getting the surgery. And how'd you think? What'd you think about that?
Well, I thought it was time because she had been in exceeding pain for 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's been chronic, and the discomfort has begun to interfere with quality of life. And when your quality of life is declining, it's inevitable that it's going to impact those who are a part of your life. Let me say that again. When the quality of your life is declining, it is inevitable that it will impact those who are a part of your life. And so while I wanted to be like most men, the fixer that, can come in and save the day, we realize that there are certain things that are beyond our capacity to address. And so I was for it. I mean, I was tired of seeing you hurt the way you were hurting.
Yeah. But it's so interesting that most people, I think a lot of people knew because I started talking about it a lot. But a lot of people who know me well, they said this came out the blue. Like, what do you mean you're getting a hip replacement? And I'm like, I've been in pain for a long time. But a lot of people knew I had bad kneecaps, but didn't really understand how it impacted my hip. And the one thing, it's amazing because even though I was in a lot of pain after the surgery, I could tell that my hip was completely healed. Does that make sense? Like, I don't feel pain where I used to feel. I have different pain because I had to tear through muscles and cut through muscles and things like that. But the pain is gone. Right. And I told Adrian today, I said, I wish I had done it so much longer ago. And I said, but that's just how some of us do. We deal with pain. We deal with stuff in our bodies, in our minds, in our emotions, in our souls that we know shouldn't be there, but we just don't deal with it. I mean, we deal with it and instead of getting rid of it.
The interesting thing is what the doctor said about what your body began to do as a result of you continuing to endure and not seek out the ultimate change. Mm-hmm. She began to develop bone spurs, and the bone spurs would protrude in ways that the normal joint would not have projectiles or spears, if you will. These are like little spikes, right? So it's piercing nerves in the body. And it was all because of the length of time that she has been allowing this situation to persist. Mm-hmm. I'm painting a picture on purpose because, again, some of us, as Shandi just said, are dealing with issues that have been with us for a long, long, long time, and making the choice to not address them creates outgrowths that begin to affect other parts of our body. It begins to decline the quality of life that we're experiencing. And it's all because of a deliberate decision to disregard or ignore as though it's not there.
So let me just tell you, and I shared this with one of my friends, one of my Nigerian sisters a few days ago. And she said, Shandi, you've got to say that. You've got to tell this because um, so one of the things I started doing is I started seeing a chiropractor to help me buy time because I was trying to get to 55. Why? Because everywhere I go, they say, you're too young for a hip replacement. So long story short, I go to my chiropractor who's become one of my dear friends. But the first thing when I get there, the first time he says, so I'm like, he's like, how long have you been dealing with this? I said, about 2.5 years. And he said, how long has it been this bad? I said, about 2.5 years. And this is what he says. Oh God, you're one of those. He said, you're one of those.
Translate.
He's an Indian man. He's a person of color. So we have real raw conversations. And he's like, I see this with a lot of Black women. He said, you all think high pain tolerance is a badge of honor. He said, but actually it makes you the hardest people to heal.
Wow.
Because you wait till it gets too hard.
Wow.
And then we can't do the things that we could normally do to bring you back to a place of healing. He's like we have to go overboard. And he crushed me. And this is what I told my girlfriend, my Nigerian sister, because her culture, Nigerian women, I hate to make generalizations, but a lot of times Black women and Nigerians take it to a whole new level where we feel like, no, we're just going to bear down and we're going to deal with the pain. We're going to grin and bear it. And we're going to act like it's not really there. A lot of times we suppress the pain, and we talked about this in our class, like the different types of coping mechanisms people have. And it's not just physical pain, it's actually even worse with emotional and spiritual pain. But we try to, what did we say? We try to press it down. We try to ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
We try to make excuses for it, mm-hmm. or we might even turn it into a badge of honor. Like, because for so many years, I used to say, I have a high tolerance for pain and thought it was a good thing.
Yeah.
Even my midwife will say, when I go into the office and say something's wrong, she's like, oh my God, mm-hmm. It must be serious. Like she immediately pulls out all the stops because she's like, when you complain of pain, mm-hmm. we know it's serious.
Mm-hmm. I've even heard some people say that their family doctor or whoever they're under the care of treats women of color differently because stereotypically women of color are expected to tolerate pain more than others. And so many feel as though their diagnosis has been discounted mm-hmm. because of their ethnicity.
And even though I know that, and Kristen, who is our daughter going into the medical profession, she is really big on that. Like the Black women, we get misdiagnosed, and we're the number one people of color or persons. We're most likely to die in childbirth than any other
right.
race of people, and it's because people think we are tougher than we really are,
or than you reasonably should be expected to be.
Right. Absolutely.
And so
but a lot of it, some of it is racism, but some of it is because we have been taught, don't let them see you sweat. Whether we've been taught that literally or whether we've caught it.
Yeah.
Because we've seen our parents, our aunties, our sisters go through immense amounts of pain.
Yeah.
And they bear it.
That would be called subliminal suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are watching a family member or a significant person within your community go through pain that otherwise would be considered unreasonable, harsh, you subliminally assume that that's just what is expected of you. You know, maybe you saw an extended member in your family go through a harsh experience, and you take this on and believe that this is how we do it. I've heard so many people say this, even within the context of how we are adverse to therapy.
Absolutely. That's where I was going. Absolutely. So we're the last ones to, a lot of times, and Black men, you all are probably even more so, to get help when you're physically hurting.
Less likely.
Less likely. Definitely when you're emotionally hurting.
Right.
A lot of times when you're spiritually hurting.
Yes.
And as a result, and so we're talking to Black people right now.
Yeah.
As my beloved Dr. Ben would say, it's stupid.
well, honey, let's really
Okay.
let's really think about this.
Okay.
Why did God make the body to emit pain signals?
To tell us something is wrong.
Say that again for the person who may have thought it was some other curse.
Okay. Oh, or that God is trying to punish you?
Right.
No.
Right.
That's a lie. God lets us feel pain in our bodies as an indicator that something is wrong.
Yeah.
So that we can address it.
Recently, I saw a TikTok of Shannon Sharp. Many of you may know Shannon. He's an ex-NFL football player who's made it to the NFL Hall of Fame, a HBCU graduate. He played for the Broncos and the Ravens in their Super Bowl year. He's a Super Bowl champion. And he talked about when he was beginning to experience some pain. And then he went to the doctor because of this unusual feeling that he was having. And this was in his 30s, his mid 30s. Lo and behold, he had prostate cancer. And he said it ran in his family. And he was doing this particular TikTok to admonish individuals to go get checked out, specifically men. And he said, it's something that we can win, we can treat, we can win against it. You can overcome it through treatment if you catch it early enough. Now, the interesting thing, honey, is that he listened to his body. He responded properly to the pain, and it spared his life. Today, he's 53 years of age, but he wouldn't have gotten there. He said his daddy died of prostate cancer. He wouldn't have gotten there if, in fact, he did not listen to the pain, respond to the pain. So
it's, I am one of those Black women that really is in tune with my body. Like, I kind of know, I can tell. I told Adrian, like, I used to know, I'm like, I'm pregnant. He's like, what, I'm like, well, I'm like 3 hours late. Okay. True story, right?
It's true.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. He's like, what happened? What day? I was like, just a few hours late. Like, I'm real in tune with my body, right? But, and it's easy to indicate pain in our bodies if we are in tune, if we pay attention, okay? But let's talk about emotional and spiritual pain, because you might have a heartbreak, right? But there are a lot of things, there are a lot of indicators that we might be in pain emotionally and spiritually that doesn't feel like heartbreak. What are some of those indicators? Like, what are some of the indicators how do you respond or how do men respond a lot of times? Because some people, sometimes we're so used to dealing with pain that we don't even recognize it.
One of the key ways that a lot of men do it is we retreat.
Mm-hmm.
We retreat into a cave.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the historically common responses to pain.
Mm-hmm. Anger, rage.
Rage. I was going to say rage more than anger.
Yeah.
Rage is anger on 10.
Yeah. Communication, and that's with men and women. It just usually looks very differently. A lot of anxiety, mental anguish, depression.
Turning to addictions.
Oh my gosh. We try to mask it. And a lot of times we mask it not just through drugs and alcohol
or prescription drugs.
It could be food. It could be technology.
Illicit technology.
Yeah, but it could just be you.
Escape. Yeah. Fantasy.
Yes. Escapism. Definitely. A lot of times we put up walls. Right. Because we don't want anybody to know we're hurt, or we put up walls because we don't want anyone else to hurt us. So we're going to keep people on the outside.
So isolation of oneself.
Yeah. It's so many different ways. And, I think most of us, this is a huge problem, not just in the African-American community, with all communities, but we, again, are the least likely to get help. And as I teach all the time, if we don't deal with it, we leave it for someone else to feast on. That's the way I say it. If we don't clean it up, we leave our pain and our issues and our problems for the generations after us.
I like what Larissa just said. She said, yes, we're told to keep pushing. Mm-hmm. And I think what Larissa is saying is to keep pushing forward, push past the pain. But then how about the keep pushing where we stuff? Mm-hmm. We push it down and think that the further it is pushed beneath the surface, that somehow or another, when it's out of the immediate view, that it is no longer able to be felt anymore.
Absolutely.
So we push forward, try to go past it, and then we push it into a grave, thinking that if it's buried, that it no longer exists.
Absolutely. And we are fooling ourselves, and we are leaving a mess for other people to clean up. And spiritually speaking, and I talk about this a lot, we actually have developed a class where we talk about generational cycles and issues. We have a course called The Prosperous Soul where we talk about this, but so many people, when we gave them that genogram exercise, when they went back to look at the history of their families, not looking at just medical issues, because your doctor does that, but who else dealt with anger? Who else dealt with depression? And they were blown away at how they could trace it back. Yeah. And a lot of us don't realize, if we don't deal with these issues, if we don't deal with our pain, we are leaving a legacy for someone else to deal with. And yes, Sandra, it's a bloodline curses. And this is what, and this is what we love teaching people, how to become cycle breakers. You can be the one that says no more.
Absolutely.
I refuse, as Bishop Bismarck always says, I refuse to pay for something that someone else did. But if we don't clean it up, it is left for others to pay for. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's not always a payment that is a direct cash payment, but you end up paying by missed opportunities. You end up paying because when you should have been healthy enough to walk through a door of opportunity, you weren't able to,
That's
because
good.
you're still carrying the weight of the inheritance of pain, the inheritance of suffering, the inheritance of a struggle in a particular area, when you should have um, really, well, you could have,
Yeah. Yeah.
you could have overcome it.
Yeah, we talk a lot about bloodline curses, but it's time for us to start focusing on bloodline
Blessing,
blessing,
absolutely.
because that's our inheritance for those of us that are in Christ Jesus. That the Bible says in Genesis 12 verses 2 and 3, that the blessing of Abraham's, that we're blessed to be a blessing, and that there are certain blessings that are afforded to us, but if we don't go and deal with some stuff, that we have to change the trajectory of this.
And I bring this full circle.
Okay.
Because I'm bringing it full circle. We knew that there was an issue going on in my wife's body. And to the point that even when she would lay in the bed, it would be times where she would cry out in pain, not walking, not standing. She's lying on a brand new mattress. And she is crying out for relief.
Yeah.
Think about the fact that she had to be intentional to address the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And there may be some folks who are going to see this, who are watching it now, that you're dealing with pain in uncharacteristic ways, manners of operation of life that should otherwise bring you joy. It should bring you solace. It should bring you comfort. It should bring you refreshing. You're not able to tap into that because something is lying beneath the surface unaddressed.
Mm.
And I'm submitting to you that you've got to get to the point where you say enough is enough. I'm going to deal with this thing. I'm going to face it. And maybe you feel that you don't have the strength to face it alone. Well, she didn't have to walk through this alone. And quite frankly, if she tried, it would have been a difficult undertaking to try and deal with this by herself. That's your opportunity to go ahead and step in and start saying,
yay. He's been the bomb.com. I'm sorry. I need to get up and stretch.
Yeah.
But it's so true. And that's what, oh my gosh. Thank you for doing that. So he's been a huge blessing.
No.
I know. But that is so true. There are people that are equipped to help you resolve your pain.
Yeah.
There are people, like I have a whole care team beyond my medical professionals. I have my husband and my daughter, Kristen, who've been phenomenal. And there are people that are close in your proximity that probably can help you or lead you to the person that can help. Now my passion, and I think that's why one of the reasons why, well, God didn't do this. The enemy did it, but God allowed it because this is going to make me even more passionate to help people deal with their pain. There are people that are equipped to help you. I want to tell you 2 resources. On Saturday morning, our church, those who don't know, we're pastors, and our church is having a mental health workshop. Y'all, this is the second time we've done this. The first time it was so off the chain, helpful, amazing, that we have the same speakers coming back. So we're doing part 2. It's at 10 o'clock. You can find the flyer on both of our pages. I'll go post it right after this. Also, I'm going to say it, we specialize in helping people uncover their emotional bone spurs. Is that good?
That's good.
That's good. Like, we couldn't figure out all that was happening to me. This is what this is what my orthopedic said. I would replace your hip for one of the three issues that you have, either one of them, but you have three things. He's like, you're dealing with major arthritis, you're bone on bone, and then you have bone spurs. Each one of those individually is severe enough for me to replace your hip. Ma'am, you have all three. Ma'am, sir, I'm telling you, some of you have emotional trauma. You have spiritual trauma. You might have physical trauma. Like literally, one of the things that helped get me through this, and my chiropractor helped me, was like, you got to let some people go. You're carrying around some weight, meaning I had some, not just unforgiveness, but I had some bitterness. And one of the things that helped me buy more time and dealt with some inflammation in my body is because I had to release some people that I was still expecting apologies from. Okay, this is part 2 because this is going too long. But what I'm telling you is because of what we've been through spiritually, physically, emotionally, and because we've done our own work, we are very well equipped to help people deal with the stuff that's not hidden, the stuff that's not going to be seen on an X-ray. The stuff that's not going to show up on your MRI, okay? And some of it could even be physical pain. And one of the ways you know is when doctors tell you, I don't know exactly what this is that's causing it. There's no reason. It's probably something spiritual, emotional, or a combination, all three like me, that you're dealing with. And so on Saturday morning, our mental health workshop is at 10 o'clock, but at 9 a.m., we're doing a preview for the course that we have designed that helps people deal with the hidden stuff that the doctors cannot see. And we'll put a post on our pages about the preview. It's going to be 30 minutes. We're just going to tell you some of the things that we how we help people deal with pains that aren't showing up on the X-ray.
Recently you visited one of our friends who's a cardiologist, and he did all kinds of scans, tests. He evaluated Shandi's entire being, her physical body, and could find nothing. But she was having he found the palpitations. He said, yeah, your heart is racing. But he could not find a underlying root that produced the palpitations. And so that's the invisible, unseen, undiagnosed stuff that many people are experiencing, but we now appreciate what those palpitations were connected to.
I'll just tell you this. He's a spirit-filled Christian. He said, Shandi, you are not dealing with, this is not a physical issue. It's a spiritual issue. He said, this is spiritual warfare.
Absolutely.
And a lot of us are dealing with that type of thing as well. So anyway, like I said, we have a passion to help people figure out what their invisible issues are.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of times it's spiritual, and we would love to show you. We weren't even going to go all that. I wasn't even going to talk about the mental health workshop, but I'm glad I did, because we just want to see people get well. We want to see you get whole. And so, Jesus has already afforded everything you need to be well.
So we're gonna wrap up here. Again, I hope that this has been an encouragement. It's been an eye opener for you to consider the pains that you're wrestling against. Remember, pain is a signal. It's a message that something isn't right. And so if there's a pain in your leg, a pain in your hip, a pain in your head, a pain in your abdomen, a pain in your heart, a pain in your mind, a pain in your dreams, you need to inquire, from whence comes this signal? From whence comes this message? What is it that is seeking to be communicated that I should be looking at more deeply. Listen, we so appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us this evening. Talk to Me is going to be every Tuesday at 7 p.m. We hope that you'll join us again next week. We're going to talk about something that is something else that is sure to be interesting, informative, and we can't wait to get to that time and to be there with you. Until that time, we pray that the grace and peace of the Lord, our Savior, would be with you and covering and keeping you in everything that you set your hand to and wherever your feet shall lead you. Take care. God bless.
Good night.